Sarawak's green energy efforts gain international spotlight as Premier invited to speak at Davos, Switzerland Forum. ASEAN undersea power link between Malaysia and Vietnam takes shape. And in world news, US targets Cuban president with first sanctions over rights abuses. Sarawak's commitment to green energy and environmental management continues to gain global recognition, with Premier Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg invited to deliver a keynote address at the World Economic Forum WEF in Davos, Switzerland. Abang Johari said the invitation reflects international acknowledgement of Sarawak's leadership in promoting clean energy and sustainability.
Akhirnya saya telah diberi peluang untuk berkongsi dengan dasar kita dengan dunia. Baru-baru ini di Tokyo 2 hari yang lepas, and during the panel discussion they acknowledge what Sarawak has done for the future of the world. Bukan Sarawak, of the world. Dari sudut pengurusan alam sekitar kita dan juga tenaga hijau. InsyaAllah saya tak dapat di Tianjin WEF. Saya telah diberitahu mereka akan menjemput saya untuk berkongsi di World Economic Forum di Davos mengenai dengan dasar kita. Maknanya dunia telah acknowledge kita.
The Premier also shared Sarawak's sustainability blueprint and renewable energy initiatives with global industry leaders in Japan. He stressed that Sarawak's approach is firmly aligned with environmental, social and governance ESG principles, the foundation of the state's development strategy, which prioritizes sustainable resource management.
Kita tidak dapat lari daripada hakikat bahawa any development, you must not sacrifice environment. There must be a balance between the two, keseimbangan dalam kita menjagakan alam sekitar dan juga dalam kita membangunkan negeri. Our policy here, I want to share with you, is that the Sarawak government give priority to our resource, and our resource must be managed prudently, and that will trigger economic development through the opportunities arising from our effort to conserve environment.
He also reiterated the importance of collective and comprehensive action to address climate change. To this end, Sarawak has set its sight on building a green economy with a target of achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050 in line with global aspirations. Sarawak is currently formulating a carbon levy based on global open market value, leveraging 3D forest data technology to measure carbon absorption capacity accurately. Premier Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said this initiative will enable scientific assessment of carbon value generated through the ecosystem services of Borneo's tropical rainforests, in line with its Sarawak's green economy strategy. He said the technology will allow the government to determine the carbon levy rate in a scientific and transparent manner, complying with global market demands. Abang Johari, who is also Sarawak's Minister for Natural Resources and Urban Development, stressed that this move strengthens the state's government's commitment to green management and circular economy policies, using natural resources to drive economic growth without compromising environmental sustainability.
If you have that technology, where you can identify and have the type of trees. As you know, the forest, dia punya lubang-lubang berlainan. That will relate to the capacity absorption of carbon. And carbon prices is depending on the volume of carbon that is absorbed. Jadi kalau kita ada data tadi, seperti yang saya lihat melalui 3D tadi, kita boleh melihat aggregate absorption capacity of our forest. Jadi sebab harga karbon adalah disebut sebagai market, open market, jadi kita mempunyai data untuk kita meletakkan levy ataupun carbon tax daripada proses yang menghisapkan karbon daripada hutan kita.
He made the remarks while officiating the 2025 Sarawak Level International Day of Forest celebration at the Forest Research Centre FRC on Saturday. The Premier also shared Sarawak's initiative to utilise oil palm waste for biomass and biofuel production in Lubuk Antu under a 30 million ringgit allocation. The project, carried out in partnership with the Sarawak Land Consolidation and Rehabilitation Authority SALCRA, falls under the state's circular economy strategy.
Apabila kita pecahkan kanal ini dengan biomasnya, maka biomas boleh digunakan untuk kita memberi makanan kepada haiwan, meaning animal feed. Dan kita coba dengan sapi dan juga kambing, nampaknya daripada animal feed that is not imported, our own animal feed, ia boleh membesarkan haiwan.
He further added that the biofuel produced could also be converted into sustainable aviation fuel SAF, supporting the development of renewable energy in Sarawak. An early morning accident at kilometre 2 of Jalan Baut Serikin claimed the life of a female motorcyclist while another woman sustained injuries. The incident occurred at around 5:45 a.m. recently when a motorcycle carrying a rider and a pillion passenger skidded while navigating a bend in the road. Baut District Police Chief DSP Dr. Daram Ruer said the motorcycle was heading straight from Serikin towards Baut when the rider lost control while trying to avoid a trailer that had entered their lane. Both rider and passenger were thrown off the bike. The passenger managed to get up, but the rider remained on the road and was later struck by an oncoming car from behind. The type and registration number of the vehicle involved remain unknown. Both women were rushed to Baut Hospital, where the rider was pronounced dead. The passenger suffered injuries to her knee, elbow, and arm. Police are investigating the case under Section 41(1) of the Road Transport Act 1987. Members of the public with information related to the case are urged to come forward or contact the nearest police station. Authorities also reminded road users to ensure their vehicles are roadworthy, practice safe driving, and remain cautious, especially during unpredictable weather conditions. Welcome back. The contract for the Malaysia-Vietnam Undersea Cable Project under the ASEAN Power Grid Initiative is currently being serviced and processed. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government is keen to expedite the project, describing it as a critical initiative to meet the energy needs of both the nation and the region.
Bila kita bincang dengan negeri ASEAN ini sekarang, bukan bincang diplomatik ya, dan perbincangan kerjasama biasa, tetapi juga kerjasama yang telah disepakati dan melaksanakan beberapa projek. Dan ini umpamanya telah bermula. Sekarang persiapan untuk pembinaan kabel dan juga pipe sedang diselenggarakan.
Anwar made the remarks while speaking at the launch of the Terengganu Hydro Hybrid Floating Solar Project and Green Hydrogen Hub at the Sultan Mahmud Power Station in Tasik Kenyir, Kuala Berang on Saturday. During his speech, he also touched on the undersea cable project with Vietnam, noting that the cable would originate from Vietnam and connect to the Malaysian state of Kelantan. On to world news. The United States announced on Friday its first sanctions against Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel over alleged human rights violations committed by the Cuban regime against its people. This marks the latest move in a series of measures by U.S. President Donald Trump's administration to intensify pressure on the Cuban government. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made the announcement via social media on the 4th anniversary of the historic anti-government protests in Cuba, stating that the United States had imposed visa restrictions on President Diaz-Canel and other senior Cuban officials. Those sanctions include Defense Minister Alvaro Lopez Miera and Interior Minister Lazaro Alberto Alvarez Casas. The U.S. is also moving to sanction Cuban judicial and prison officials linked to the unlawful detention and mistreatment of protesters detained during the July 2021 demonstrations. A fast-moving wildfire has prompted the evacuation of parts of the Grand Canyon, with the U.S. National Park Service ordering visitors and residents to stay away from the park's north rim. In a social media statement on Friday, the Park Service said the Dragon Bravo fire, sparked by lightning and burning since July 4th, had grown to 150 acres, which is equivalent to 61 hectares by Friday evening, and remains uncontained. Park Service staff evacuated about 500 visitors from the less frequented North Rim late Thursday. Daily access to the area was also closed due to the larger white sage fire, which is burning just outside the Grand Canyon National Park. According to authorities, the white sage fire has scorched approximately 10,973 acres, 4,441 hectares, and remain uncontained. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. For more headlines anytime, anywhere, just head onto our official website at tvsarawak.my or follow us on our social media platforms at TV Sarawak. Those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Thank you for watching and have a good night.